I truly feel like for him that was the best thing that could have ever happened because then you could go on your show the next day and talk about it for days and days and days.
Are we that desperate for clicks?
These days, hell yeah. All media outlets are struggle busting it, like are going to the nitty gritty of content, like the lowest hanging fruit of content, unfortunately. Like there's no standards anymore.
Here I am once again alongside my favorite person. It's Queen PR. How you feeling?
I'm good.
I'm glad. It's been a busy few weeks.
It has been busy.
You know, we've been styling, profiling, traveling. Queen of the Ring.
Yes.
Movie red carpet premiere. Shout out to you doing big things.
That was fun.
And then South by Southwest.
Yep.
Shout out to Candace, Cordelia. Shout out to Sarat, Yolanda, and King Troy. Excellent job on the panel. But also,
very nice panel.
Shout out to you for a great production behind the scenes.
Oh, thank
doing
you.
Your thing.
I couldn't have done it without you.
But, you know, I'm always happy to work alongside you as well as doing the show. But, yeah, shall we dive into what people been talking about?
Let's do it.
All right. So I talked about this a little bit on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, but I got to bring this up. LeBron James, Bronny James. What is your thoughts? Because, you know, I've expressed, and we talked about it a little bit, but there's the nepotism of it all. There's LeBron James pressing up on your fellow New Yorker, Stephen A. Smith. I had to throw that in there.
Like, that's the only thing we have in common, probably.
Y'all love for the New York Yankees and the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
And maybe the New York Liberty, but I don't know, Stephen.
Queen?
Yeah. Well, that's where he grew up. Okay. Great book. But what did you think when you saw that footage?
First off, when it comes to LeBron James and his sons, I have we might have even talked about on the show, the nepotism of it all. And honestly, how I feel about that is, you know, white men especially, have been positioning their family in these positions, whether they're qualified or not. And these people go on to become CEOs and all that shit. And you know, like, they're able to do that. They have the privilege and the influence to do it. And I love seeing a black man do it, to be completely honest, in that regard. However, if I was Bronny James, I would feel like my dad was doing me a disservice just as an independent man who wants to be a good basketball player. I do feel like, and this is just me from what I see, because obviously I'm not like the biggest basketball fan, but I think a lot of it was like selfish on LeBron James' point, because he wanted to play with his son. He wanted to make history and play with his son, get his son a big contract, but was he ready for that? You know, that was always the question. And I feel like he should have probably stayed in college just to kind of gain his own identity, and find his own way, find his own lane. But again, you know, he had the opportunity to do it, then do it. Stephen A. Smith talking about this the way I'm even talking about it, it is what it is. Like, you know, it's happening in front of our faces. We are going to comment on it. That's what it is. Like, it's Stephen A. Smith doing his job. So LeBron James confronting him about it was kind of just like, you know, it wasn't one of those where Stephen A. Smith was randomly talking shit about your son randomly. Like, no, he is a professional basketball player, and I'm going to talk about how I feel about the situation. And so LeBron James confronting him was silly, but then for Stephen A. Smith, I truly feel like for him that was the best thing that could have ever happened, because then you could go on your show the next day and talk about it for days and days and days. People talked about that situation for days and days and days. Like, it's all content. I saw a tweet where somebody was like, Stephen A. Smith addressing this LeBron situation like it's the state of addressers, the State of the Union, because it was just such this, I'm going to speak on this. And it was like, for him, honestly, all money at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, he, you know, shout out to 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. Shout out to Mello and Kaz. They had...
I like that show.
Yeah, me too. They had D-Wade on there. Over 1 million views on YouTube when Wade talked about it. Because who knows LeBron James better than Dwayne Wade? And
they came up together.
I don't know if you got a chance to see that conversation, but one of the things he said was, LeBron, you kind of brought some of this on your own. and Melo, both of them said, like, everybody's kind of saying there's no right or wrong. It's okay for Stephen A. Smith to do what he did, but it's also because he was doing his job. He's okay for LeBron to do what he did. But what turned it was when the leaked audio of LeBron talking to Richard Jefferson, his former teammate, saying, once he said, as a father, I'm begging you to stop. He said that's what set LeBron over the edge. So then Stephen A is like, okay, it wasn't about Bron. It was about me calling you out as a father. So overall, it's crazy. I say this. This thing right here gets dangerous. I'll go behind the curtain. I mentioned this the other day, but you was right there too. Imagine if that was the way I did broadcasting and podcasting, right? Who do we see? We saw Ricky Starks, or excuse me, Ricky Saints. You know what I mean? So imagine I see Ricky Saints, and all this time I've been saying, oh, he ain't all that. I don't know why. He should have been AEW, just that and the other. He was the pebble. And now the confrontation happens. You know, sometimes, but there would be podcasters in that position, you know, and like I said, this gets dangerous because people do start yapping off, going above and beyond. But then when it's time for those confrontations, they don't got nothing to say. Now, Stephen A. Smith said he ain't say nothing because it was the day he had just signed his multi-million-dollar contract extension with ESPN, so he wasn't going to put...
But let's be real. Mm-hmm. What was Stephen A. Smith really about to say? Like, I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those, I would have said something, but he lucky he ain't catch me on this day because I would have did, like, bro, it's okay. The same thing, like, you did what I expected Stephen A. Smith to do, which is get on your show the next day and talk about it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's content at the end of the day, and you know
that's the world that we live in, and like there's no line now between just like people talking shit on a microphone and like sports commentary. So you like the lines are blurred, where it's like, are you talking shit about my son, or are you being, are you just being objective and doing what a sports commentator is supposed to do? Where's the line? There's no line anymore. Well,
speaking of lines, let's go to the Breakfast Club. Because I've been waiting to talk about this with you. Jess Hilarious and I'm going to make sure I say this.
Loren, LaRosa, I think.
Yeah. Hold on. I wrote it down. Yeah, Loren LaRosa. Mm-hmm. They had a spat. They took it public. Your thoughts, just because people know what kind of happened.
Yeah. So I always had like a love-hate relationship with the Breakfast Club. I think it's real messy. It's like the Shade Room. Unfortunately, it's like the voice of the culture for good or bad, or for better or worse. But it's not good for the culture. Like the Breakfast Club is just not that. So I kind of checked out for a while. When I saw that Jess Hilarious had joined, I was like, oh, okay, because I liked Jess Hilarious on Instagram. Like, I thought Jess with the Mess, My News is Real, was so funny. And I loved like her mocking celebrity news. I thought that was just like so funny. And when I saw that they added her, I was like, okay, it definitely added a new element to it. I was like, okay, I like this. I actually started like watching clips on YouTube. Like, all right, I got me. It's funny. And then she went on maternity leave and Loren came on. And I was like, ooh, because Loren brought a real news aspect to it. Like she felt legit. Yeah. Like Charlamagne's a joke. DJ Envy's a joke. Let's be real. Radio royalty though. Being a New Yorker. However, like y'all are like fucking busters, like, you know what I mean? But Jess added a funny element to it, but then Loren brought an even extra level to it, and it tied in with like the Diddy stuff. So like her being able to like break down the legal stuff and the cases like was very informative at some point, and that's not what you expect to get from the Breakfast Club. So I enjoyed that, and then learning she used to be on TMZ, I was like, okay, that makes total sense. Also, young black woman doing her thing. Jess comes back immediately, and I was one of those people in the YouTube comments like keep Loren, like which I guess added to the problem. But again, I'm a listener giving my feedback, and I do feel like there could have been a place for both of them on the show as a co-host. And I know I saw a lot of comments of people being like, basically pitting the two against each other. So I was always curious to see how Jess felt about it. She goes on live and airs it all out, and I just think that is just such an unprofessional way to handle business. But again, goes back to the Stephen, like that line being drawn of like, what is the Breakfast Club? Like, is it not just messy as fuck? Like, are we really surprised that they aired their what should have been an HR meeting on live on air? Like, are we really surprised? No. And I really feel like, especially for Charlamagne, just going on live, I don't think they were mad at her. I think they knew that shit was gonna. The U.S. Sun covered.
Wow.
Just Hilarious and The Breakfast Club. And let me tell you, that was a little too black for them to cover. But because it was trending that much, that I think that's probably one of the best things to happen to The Breakfast Club if you want to just think about like how you want to get numbers.
Are we that desperate for clicks?
These days, hell yeah. All media outlets are struggle busting it, like are going to the nitty gritty of content, like the lowest hanging fruit of content, unfortunately. Like there's no standards anymore.
Right.
Like even the big publications are creating content around things that would have seemed beneath them at some point, but you just want views.
Yeah.
That's why journalists are getting replaced with fucking influencers. Cause it's like, oh wait, y'all know how to get 1 million views. We don't. Let me hire you, and taking jobs away from journalists. Which is interesting because Just Hilarious was like an influencer and Loren is a journalist, and which is why the two of them should have never been compared to each other. I think that was the biggest thing. And I do agree with Jess where I feel like the show should have at least said something on air about each of their roles on the show, because you're telling Jess that Loren is not a fourth co-host. Also learned that Loren is a producer, a news producer on the show. And they're telling Jess like, oh, she's not your replacement. Once you get back, like she's not a fourth co-host, but then you're bringing her on during Jess's segment.
Right.
You're giving her more airtime than Jess. So then it's like, of course you're going to feel a way about that in your workplace. And if fans are calling her out and dogging them out, I do feel like they should have said like, Loren is our news producer. We love what she brings to the show. We do want her on. Jess is this. Give her her own segment. Like that all should have been done behind the scenes, and it wasn't done. And I still don't think anything was resolved. I think it was just aired out, and now it's like, okay, on with the business.
Because I'm saying, like when I've been seeing clips and stuff, they working
like
together.
That happened.
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted like, "Oh, the fact that Jess Hilarious just clocked back into work like that happened is hilarious," and I was like, "It really is."
Yeah, I mean, it's like I wish I could do that. I mean, not that I have any gripe right now, but like previous places, wasn't happening.
And even like you could even see like Charlamagne was joking throughout the whole entire thing. So you could just see like they honestly just made me look at The Breakfast Club and just shake my head even more than I normally do. I'm just like, yeah, okay. I do love what Loren's doing. I love that she spoke her truth. I love that Jess spoke her truth. And it's just like one of those things.
Yeah, it's it's one of those.
Are you a Breakfast Club fan?
No, I listen. Like if I see somebody that I like or whatever that's like featured, I'll watch the interview. It's never been my go-to for news ever, or just content. Like I've never been one to like, oh, I'm gonna turn on Breakfast Club and listen. It's always been like, oh, this person was on the Breakfast Club. Like when Mercedes Monet was on there, boom, I listened to Swerve Strickland. Okay, cool. Jay Cargill. But, or, like if obviously, Birdman, it trended. I had to see what was up, stuff like that. But, it's not for me. I remember when the rivalry was it 97 versus Power 105. Is that right?
Yeah.
See, because this happened like when I was in college, and I remember there was this guy I used to work with who was like a radio dude, and he just texted me like, we used to work together at the Blue Box, that's Best Buy, and he would be like,
I never heard that before.
This is like an insider that Dwayne used to say. He's like, the almighty Blue Box show. You got to go into the Blue Box. But this dude I used to work with, he was like I think he had already had his degree in like broadcast journalism, but he was like working in mobile phones, and like he clicked with me because we realized we both was into that, and he was a wrestling fan. So one day he texted me, he's like, "Yo, I think I need to go to New York." I said, "What you mean?" There's a beef right now. There's a battle between Power 105.1 and Hot 97. I want to be a part of it, and I was just like, okay.
It was at one point because Hot 97 was like the premier hip hop station.
Remember, I told you the tapes. I mean, I'll show you in my case. I have still some of the Hot 97 mixtapes, yeah.
But and then Power 105 came out, and it was like, who's better? And at one point, Power 105 was definitely, and now I even think because of the Breakfast Club, unfortunately, is what kept Power 105 like more relevant than Hot 97. Unfortunately,
I didn't know if there's anything else.
Not really.
Oh wow! So I mean, but yeah. So me being a Breakfast Club fan, yeah. Speaking of New York, not sure if this guy's necessarily a New Yorker, but there's a show we started watching. We haven't watched it in probably several weeks, but New York Undercover. All right, know the star Malik Yoba. You see what he did or said?
Yes, about not being referred to as a black person.
Not being referred to as a black man. He's a non-white man, and just for his reasoning was he posted a video of himself. He said refer to himself, it's amid everything happening with DEI. So he said if everyone who isn't white should do the same. He talked about Mexicans, Latinos, Filipinos, Chinese Americans, Korean Americans, everybody, right? Said they should come up with a term, call themselves non-whites, so that they can say they hate all non-whites. That's like the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
I don't necessarily understand his reasoning. And then I read somewhere, or I read somewhere the comments, and they were like, he's just trying to beat, I don't get it. He's trying to beat the white people at their own game. And I was just like, I don't understand that. And I think as black people, as a whole, we came to the conclusion that after the election, black people, we fighting for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, we are not a part of the other minority groups, because a lot of y'all voted for Trump. We worrying about ourselves. So I don't get it. Also, it's like, why? Like, why? I miss when people did not I remember growing up, it was not polite to talk about politics with other people. It was not kosher to talk about who you voted for and your political standings. Like, it just wasn't. And I miss that time, because like everyone has these takes, and it's like, no, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because it's like, it's crazy when you think about it, because we get mad at people for their takes, and it's one end, it's like, okay, I know where you stand, but on the other end, it's like, well, if I didn't know, you still can't make a decision. Like, the fact that you like Trump right now can't determine whether or not I can go into that school, if that makes any sense. So it's like, do we really need to know that? And there's some people say, well, at least it's better to know a racist versus a non-racist. I don't even know at the time. Sometimes it's like, maybe I just don't need to know racist.
Honestly, I work in the Fox building. Ooh. So it's almost like I'd rather not know who some of my coworkers voted for. Like, I'm just like, that's just something we're just not gonna talk about.
Yeah, that's something else, man. Did you see Phylicia Rashad, aka Claire Huxtable? She always will be Claire Huxtable.
I love her.
A legend indeed. But she talked about, she was on the Breakfast Club. She talked about young ladies and how they dress. And her whole thing, she didn't come off as condescending. I got to give her that. She basically said, like, don't no man want you with everything hanging out. Leave some for him at home. And she was talking about Hollywood done gone crazy. Do you think with somebody like Phylicia Rashad, who I feel like the generation she's talking to won't understand her significance, do you think it carries weight?
See, that's the thing. I think it goes from what you're saying, because a lot of the women that are going to take offense to what she says don't know exactly who she is. So, or I shouldn't say that. They don't understand like the magnitude of like where she's coming from as like a black woman in entertainment. So they're going to take it the wrong way. So she's going to be looked at as like, just this old lady that's like want us to cover up all the time. I mean, I do feel like there is a loss of, there's there's no line anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I do wish in some regards that would come back. Like body, it just goes to like all of these things. Like, yes, feel comfortable in your own skin. Like, but does everyone need to be naked at the Oscars? Does everyone need to be naked at the Grammys? Like, when does it become a thing where we're shocked? Like, we're not even shocked anymore. When people come on the red carpet and their fucking ass cheeks are out or their nipples are showing, it's not even a shock anymore.
Remember how shocked we was with Lil' Kim?
Exactly. That would not even surprise me. Like, now that's like normal shit on Instagram.
That's it, because it was just one out. So
right.
That's easy. That's
exactly.
Like,
but now everyone has their fucking titties out. So there's no... And so when people... The only thing that I am always like hung up on is the whole like leave some for him. I think that should be like based on each person, because I know a lot of men that love how hot their women are and how confident they feel. Like, yes, Coco and Ice-T. I just watched a YouTube video about their relationship. And I love their relationship for the simple fact that they are so uniquely and unapologetically themselves. Like, they are in love to this day and they do not give a fuck about what anyone thinks. They are who they are. And he loves that his wife is half naked all the time. He loves her body. He loves that guys are looking and people have something like they love, that's them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he would feel like something's wrong if she didn't want to dress the way that she dresses. You know what I'm saying? Now, there are some couples where they might not be comfortable with that, and that's also okay. So it's just, I feel like, it's one of those things.
Amber Rose said that about Kanye. Said he gets off on men wanting to sleep with his woman, and she said like she had to wear certain things, and she was like, when he wasn't around, he would leave. She would always wear baggy clothes because it felt like, good, I can relax. Yeah.
See, and that's what I feel like when it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now if she's comfortable with that, then that's different. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I do understand where she's coming from. There is like a level of respect women don't have for themselves anymore that they used to have.
Yeah.
And so I get what she's saying. I don't think this next generation is going to understand what she's saying, and she's probably going to be, criticized for it, but
yeah, she is. Shout out to her and thank you for her, I'm grateful.
Because she comes from that generation too that strive for like Black excellence. Yeah. That knew like we have to carry ourselves better than the whites. And she's basically seeing all Black women just twerk, right? And she just sees all these Black women twerking with their ass out all the time. She's trying to school us. Yeah. We should listen.
A couple quick things before we get out of here. Jonathan Majors. He says Meagan Good lost endorsements because of him, was uninvited to places. All right, can I be honest?
Please.
Let me ask you this question. Have you ever had a celebrity crush lose stock with you?
Yeah.
Anybody come off the top of your head? Or should I take this question further based on like who they was with or whatever?
I'm sure it'll come to me. I can't think.
So this happened to me in wrestling. I think I may have told you, Dana Brooke. Like, I was a huge Dana Brooke fan, and the whole Batista thing was like,
oh my God, I told you that was not real.
I know now, but I mean, they did a good job.
They did a good job.
I honestly thought
I was into it.
I thought it was real, and then he got what he wanted and left her side. That's what I thought happened.
No.
But I thought it was real.
No. She was always with that MMA guy.
I thought they broke up.
No, they're like engaged. They might actually be married now.
Yeah.
But in that time they played it very well. Like, it was very entertaining on Twitter.
That's how I kind of feel about Meagan Good. And I was a huge Meagan Good fan.
She looking like a bozo out here in the streets.
Like, she did a movie last year that was on Prime Video. I watched it. Solid. I think it was a Tyler Perry flick. Solid, but I just don't look at it the same. But by all means, I guess I shouldn't be judging somebody who they with, but still, it's a celebrity crush, so it's not real. It's kayfabe. It's wrestling.
But I'm sure a lot of people lost stock in her, and yeah, unfortunately,
terrible.
No, not at all. You know why? It's because we grew up with Meagan Good, and we want the best for her. Like, she's clearly a baddie. we all want the best. We want you to be with it. Like, if she can't be with you, you want her to be at least with somebody that's like decent.
Like, everybody accepted when she was with homie, her ex-husband. It was all right, whatever it is, what it is. They
were decent. He was decent and religious. So it was like, okay, do you, girl? But I thought that Meagan Good and Jonathan Majors' relationship was a PR thing because he needed to revitalize his image, and they got together so quick, and then she was already like at his court cases and shit like that, and I was just like, girl, what are you doing? But then realizing she lost money, then it's like, okay, well, clearly it's not a PR relationship if her career suffered. So maybe they are really in love, but then that also makes me look at her even more sideways because I'm just like, him, really? And no judgment, but like, he literally
looked at you that way?
Has strangled his ex-girlfriend. In what way?
Like, really? Brian H. Waters?
Oh, people tell me that all the time. I'm just kidding.
No, but that's the thing, right? Yeah. Like, this dude put his hands. There's no
like strangled. Then they got married the couple days after the audio leaked of him admitting that he strangled his ex-girlfriend.
Wait, they did get married?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're married now.
Oh.
Which, I mean, good for you, girl. But like, it's just so many red flags to me. Like the fact that his career, like if it was a PR thing, it was only to help his career, and clearly you're suffered. Boom, red flag right there. The history of violence, another red flag. The fact that you're paying his bills, he moved into your house. I'm pretty sure she bought that ring for herself. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, bro, the way he dresses.
Cat Williams said.
So confusing.
Said Hollywood really tells dude that this dude is handsome.
And the sad part is he was on such a trajectory in his career, like before all of that happened. And especially being paired with Michael B. Jordan. Because it was just like women were going to see that movie like, oh my God. And then like that shit came out and then, you know. I mean, and if they are in love, you know, I said the D must be amazing because I'm like, if they are in love, then good for y'all, I guess. But I just think she could do so much better. But I also gotta give it up. She's in Delulu land, obviously, but like, I do appreciate that she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Stand
like, this is the man I love, right? Stand on that. And I think too, she was on a career high with like Harlem and like I feel like she was getting back in her groove, back into that next level. And then this relationship happened and it's like, what? Then you losing bags?
Yeah.
Girl.
Shout out to them. I'm gonna close out. Rest in peace, George Foreman.
Yes, rest in peace.
Any memories of George Foreman?
More about the craze about the George Foreman girls. Like black people, that was just like, you want to eat healthy, get you a George. Like it was just like the talk of the town. If you didn't have one, it was like a thing. But I do, you know, growing up, he was always talked about in my household or whatever. So
I still have one.
Yeah, my mom has one and uses it religiously.
Yeah, that thing, I remember the first time my parents got one, how like, oh wait, the food, like the oil comes out and it was something easy, like
easy to clean. It was revolutionary.
It was. And you know they actually have like outside ones where you could get
it's a whole line of girls now. Good for you, bro.
And I remember like when I watched like old boxing footage with him with hair, I was like, wait, yeah, hair at one point, because when
picture him on the box.
Yeah. Right. And I remember it was like the thing with my parents, like they always talked about him and then you would see like highlights. But then when I went back and learned about him versus Muhammad Ali, did you know people were like scared for Muhammad Ali's life? Because I think George Foreman, the Thriller of Manila, Foreman is like 23 and Ali is 32. So people thought like, yo, this young beast who was just knocking people out left and right, he's gonna kill him. And I'm pretty sure you've seen the GIF where Ali's just doing the I think they call it it's not the Ali shuffle, it's the rumble though. But that right there was, you know, just one of those iconic things where Ali tired him out and won the fight, you know. But man, you know, somebody posted a picture with him, Ali, and some other prolific boxers. It's like, man, whatever happened to boxing? But it felt like he was like the last of that, as my dad would say.
Magical feeling of like a boxing match.
Yeah, you know, because like once Tyson got in, that was another era, but that was street fight. Like, you don't mess with Tyson on the street. Those guys were like boxers where it felt like the art. And it felt like he was the last of the Mohegans for the heavyweights. You know.
Interesting.
But yeah, let's get ready to close out. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. No. We're on the road to WrestleMania on another side of the entertainment queen. Congratulations to the Rose Basketball Club for winning the first unrivaled championship and beating the
I thought we was gonna get by without that.
Favorites to win, which was the Owls, and a major the Vinyl beat them in the playoffs.
In the semifinals.
Huge upset. And then the Rose took it.
Can't believe that was a week ago.
I'm so proud of what Unrivaled was able to accomplish.
Yes.
Beyond proud. I cannot wait for next season. The investment that's coming in. It feels like week to week a new investor is named. And I think they did a very good job.
I love how it's feeding into the WNBA next year.
So excited.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited for the season to start. And I really hope next year we get to see more stars. You know, I want to see Caitlin Clark. I want to see Asia Wilson in there. I want to see what they will do. But great job at putting women's basketball on the map. Hopefully they get a great CBA
Such
deal
a fun watch.
Yeah. And it's easy to watch, you know, very, you know, back and forth, quick. And then, like, the best part is, like, if you miss out the game, you turn on the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, what's the score? And God dang it, the Owls had it. It was up. But I had to deal with wow. And their social media was active. They was like, all right, which way to Cancun? Where we at? You know? So, but either overall next year. But right now it's all gears are focused on the LA Sparks. I'm ready for my, my Sparks. You know, you ready for the Liberty. So
yes. Let's go Liberty.
We'll see. I'll let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me at Queen3_PR on all social networks and follow my women's wrestling podcast, Those Wrestling Girls, on YouTube and listen everywhere you find your podcast. We're presented by Revolt Podcast Network. And we just was named the #1 Black New York podcast.
I love
by
it.
FeedSpot. We'll take it.
Love it. Congratulations on that. I'm obviously enjoying the show. I love hearing you talk about wrestling. I mean, of course, I can just pick up the phone or whatever and call you and we can talk. But believe it or not, we don't. What? It's funny because like that ain't all we talk about. So clearly, but y'all make sure y'all check me out here on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings when I drop the episode right here on this channel. But also check me out over on the Ringer Wrestling Show. Revving things up for WrestleMania. We got some big things coming, big announcements to make. So you do not want to miss that. And check out the Wrestling Around Now podcast each and every Wednesday night, which also, check out Break It Down with Brian H over there as well. So until the next time, folks, we'll see you next week.
Bye.